Real quick before we get into the news, everybody, I just wanted to give you a heads up, a disclaimer or warning, as it were. A lot went into trying to get this episode filmed and edited, and a lot did not work well. It took several attempts, and I ended up having to edit it on my phone with, like, Cyberlink Power Director, which probably means there's a watermark somewhere around here. Just, I refuse to not get the episode up. I want to do it even if it is janky for this week, but we just had to get it done. So thank you for bearing with me and understanding, hopefully. This week in Nerf, we've got the Thunderhawk on shelves, the Jupiter is finally here, and a dart-hoppered blaster, which just blows my mind. This week in Nerf is not in my studio today. We are in Ohio at Endor, and you may notice these two fellows with me. This is Grihas of Grihas Gear and Tabek of Velocity Blasters. Today's going to be a bit of a different episode, a little bit more discussion with these two while we talk about the things that happened this week and maybe a little bit of Endor. We'll see if we have time for it. But that said, FoamCon is finished. We are all exhausted, running on about 2 hours of sleep apiece, maybe 3 if we're lucky. So this video, unfortunately, will not have all the bells and whistles, and you have my apologies for that. That said, let's dive on in. First off, let's talk about the Adventure Force. What is this one even called? The Hoppered Blaster. You'd think I would have things up and ready. This one's a little bit... We're going off the rails today. But this is a really interesting design that I was not expecting. It's actually a hopper. You put darts in a hopper, and it's supposed to feed them and index them properly. And that, to me, just doesn't seem right. It's the command fire. And if you look at the image, which hopefully I can put that up on the screen. If not, there'll be links to everything down below, as always. But it's just so wonky looking. Look, it has like a demolisher thing on the bottom, and it's... I don't even know how it's going to function fully, but I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts, like, initially upon seeing it?
I'm just going to have to see it in action. I don't know that I can picture quite how it's going to work.
Yeah.
It could be their answer to the Infinus.
That's true.
That's where I could see it going. I don't know if it will quite fill that void because of the difference of being magazine fed to just hopper fed.
Yeah. It's so like it just shows you just dropping darts in, and I assume you have to load them in the right way, facing the right direction based on the images, but you know that kids are going to take darts and just shove them in there. So if it doesn't have a system to properly index them and point them in the right direction, I could see that being a serious problem, especially for younger players, because they just, here's a dart, let me just drop it on in there and we're good, and then it's just going to jam up and you're not going to have a good time. So I don't know. I think this is a really interesting idea, and like you said, probably... I don't know if I could say it's in response to the Infinus, because the design cycle is so long on things usually. That maybe they caught a whiff of something somehow, but it's always tough to say. That said, it's interesting enough to be worth talking about. It's another Dart Zone blaster that usually means performance, usually means power.
Absolutely. Out of the box.
Exactly, which is one of the things I really like about their company. And they have not let us down with a lot of their offerings. We've gotten some really good things from them. So, I don't know. Fingers crossed, I guess.
Probably going to be affordable as well.
That's a really good point. That is really... It may be worth giving a try because of that. Yeah. Let's talk about the other Adventure Force blaster, though, and that is the Quantum. And it's a mini Nemesis. Let's just be honest with ourselves here. It's very much akin to the Nemesis with the big hopper on top of the blaster. Whether or not it has an agitator on the inside, I'm not certain of yet. But you would assume with something that big, you would want something to make sure the rounds flow through smoothly. But what the price point's going to be is what I'm curious about. Because as you just brought up, Dart Zone, affordable, and that's where they may get people, because Nemesis, $100?
70 to 100.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if this is anywhere over 40 US.
40, that'd be actually...
40 to 50.
Yeah.
And their rounds are actually good quality, too.
Yeah.
So having something with a high capacity that will honestly probably hit similar FPS as the Nemesis and performance for half the cost, probably worth trying.
The other thing is that people are so into minimizing the Nemesis from the 100-round hopper to smaller, using paintball hoppers, everything like that. This will actually probably fall into that, and they're going to minimize this even so, but 75 is taking that from the 100 and bringing it down just a little bit, and that might be able to be minimized further. So I can definitely see a lot of people taking that and going further with the mods and making it an awesome, smaller Nemesis.
That's a good point. We don't know the exact size on this yet, I don't believe, but I think it's probably safe to assume it's going to be smaller, I think.
You can get a rough idea based at least on the illustration of the rival rounds that they have loaded in it. And,
that's a good point.
They're not far, at least in terms of scale, compared to the trigger.
Yeah, so that's a really good point.
So the handle might be a little bit smaller, but then again, it might not be an accurate rendering.
It's true. But definitely a nice catch on that. So maybe we'll see a slightly smaller capacity for it. And honestly, I'd pay half the cost if this ends up being around $40 for maybe 20, 30 less rounds, because you can always top off. Just carry some paintball pods with some rounds in them, and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely curious in your thoughts, of course, as always, on the new blasters that we're looking forward to. As for one of the blasters that maybe some people were looking forward to that is now seeing some shelf time in Australia, the Thunderhawk is now looking to be available, and that is, I don't want to say awesome necessarily, but it's cool that we're seeing more and more of the new blasters available. This is one of the ones that was not the most exciting for a lot of people. It's definitely unique and cool looking, but we have learned that the clip inside of it does not come out. It is stuck inside, so you can't buy multiples and have multiple ones like you could with a Battle Scout, so that's a bit of a bummer. I believe we received a comment or a post from someone last week that said something. Oh, it was Buff. It might have been Buff Daddy. The fall releases should be coming out soon, officially from Hasbro. So I believe it was next month.
Yeah, I think it's July.
Yeah. So again, this has been a very hectic, crazy week. So my apologies for not having all of the things. I left the details on my computer at home in a Word document, which doesn't really help me here. So we're off the cuff right now. But if you're into Mega Blasters and you want to try the official AccuStrike Mega Darts, this may be your first way to do it. I don't know how they're going to perform compared to the AccuFake Megas. Although, I feel like MTB just posted a video this week that may have been comparing them.
I have not seen it yet.
I didn't get to watch it. I know they did something with Mega Darts. If that's there, I'll put it somewhere around here. But that is something to be looking out for if you are into that. I don't know if either of you have any interest in that, or your thoughts are on that blaster.
I'd say most of my thoughts are around looking forward to seeing what Mr. Nathan can do with them in integrations. I think that shell is something that just screams, we got to get one in his hands.
Yes, I want interested. That shroud, that extending shroud, ooh, he can do wonderful things.
Absolutely.
I think that at some point this will be the Centurion all over again in a way that you can either have it be so cool just because of its actions. I mean, who doesn't love the kerclunk of the Centurion? Or it can be something that actually is viable. We're going to see with having as many options out there as we do now, if somebody can mod this so that you can actually replace the mags, 3D print new ones, and make it so that it's actually going to be a Battle Scout of Megas. And then, not only that, we're just going to see how cool this blaster could be. We saw it at the toy convention?
Toy Fair.
Yeah, Toy Fair. And it looked interesting. It's something different, and it's going back to the Mega line and then bringing out the Accu Megas, and which has prompted this whole response by making Accu Megas be developed from Light Take and
Awesome.
all these options that weren't there, but now because of Toy Fair they're there, and we're gonna see if it passes that. Do I need to have it because it has an awesome gimmick, like the Deploy, the Centurion, all those fun things? Because it probably will.
Yeah, that's a very, very fair point. And I like the point on whether or not you can mod it to make it accept different clips and 3D printing or whatnot for extras, which is definitely interesting. My take is I want to see Beret run it. You reference, being a Mega Battle Scout. That makes me want to see Beret run it because he likes the Battle Scout, and we're going to have to make that happen, I think. Yeah, that's got to happen. But all right, let's move on to the last thing we're talking about today, and that is the Jupiter. Otherwise known previously as the Here Mini. Out of Darts has officially announced it. The name is out. There is a video announcing it. If you haven't seen it already, go check it out. You get to see it perform. You get to learn a little bit more about the people behind it as well, which is fantastic. And this is something that we've all been waiting for quite a while. But it was also here at FoamCon Friday, the day we're filming this, and we got to mess around with it, and it's just as expected. It's an absolute blast. It shoots super fast, super satisfying, but I want to hear your two thoughts on it.
I got to play with it a little bit. It is really good in terms of ergonomics, and it's just incredibly fun to shoot and to be shot at with, which I had to experience quite a bit, having sat next to him most of the day as people demonstrated it. So
that is a occupational hazard.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll say.
Very fun blaster, and you can hear it coming.
Yeah.
Without getting to play with it, I've heard so much about this, and seeing it go from concept through design, it is just amazing how far it's come. Because when it comes to 3D printing, making bigger projects that's always a difficulty. But when you then try to condense something into this small and still make it so that it's fun and everybody loves it, it has turned into this great project that I want to see more of. And it's going to be one of those fun blasters that you can go and act like it's a primary, even though it's not a primary. I can't see anybody doing this, but people will do it just because it's fun.
It's true. I mean, right back to Beret. He's done it, and he had videos of it, and we've seen it run at our 5v5 games for the BTA in California, and it's definitely doable. We play the right way, and it's totally viable, which makes it just awesome that it has that versatility to it. Now, obviously, you're not going to get the power or the pure range that you might out of some other things, but you have great rate of fire, and if you're good at getting close up and working on flanks or things like that, this is a great blaster. It's looking like it's shaping up fantastic, and the design cues they've taken from the community and listened to feedback and continued to iterate on it, it's ended up in a very good place, and I'm super stoked to eventually get my hands on one of these and have some fun with it because, it's going to be fun. These should be available, I believe, towards the end of the month, Out of Darks was saying in his video. So definitely go check that out. He's going to do another one in the future as well. I believe that will go further in depth about it, so look forward to that one. That is bringing us to the video of the week, and that this week is the NXC 852 Infamous review. I know so many people have been looking forward to the Infamous and more information on it. We now finally have a little bit more. This is a subtitled video in English that will give you some good information on the function and the form of the Infamous, the size essentially compared to people, and watching them actually use the reload function while shooting and with worker magazines. So not just the 30-round drum that comes with it, but off-brand magazines, and that's a huge, huge bonus. So I don't know how excited you two are, but I'm pretty interested.
Yeah, I want to play with the shell. I'm really happy that it has a rapid strike pusher, and yeah, it's a really fun-looking blaster with added functionality potentially.
Yeah.
With how far this has gone, seeing this as a concept at Toy Fair, going more in depth and seeing first looks at how the feeding mechanism worked, and not only that, but going back to a rapid strike pusher instead of the conveyor belt pusher, you look and hope that this is kind of like a future towards what they're doing, And it's awesome that you can reload mags while they're in, and despite the fact that, like, yes, a lot of people won't often do that with their primary, but now you could do it just as if there's a lull in action. You got your dump pouch, you can just grab a couple, top it off, and then you're not reloading a mag that's just gone half through or anything like that. You're just prepared to go further with it. It's really cool just to see that kind of stuff, and I want to see it done, other things done with it, and not only that, but we'll get an idea of how it works when somebody has it and takes it apart, and we can maybe plan on a future with something similar or something that can feed it different, faster, because
it's something that I'm very interested in, and not so much the blaster itself, but the tech inside of it. I personally would love to have that reloading feature on something like a Strife. So if the internals are accessible enough that there could be some sort of integration done that keeps things a little bit more compact, more Strife-like. I don't need full auto. I'm okay with semi-auto, and I'm thinking about this from a competitive standpoint because it's what I do. I would love to have it for our 5v5 King of the Hill games where you're on the field for 6 minutes and you can scavenge. So the fact that you could scavenge without having to put something in a dump pouch or have to pull a mag out to reload it, but you can just, like, you get behind a piece of cover, you have like 3 seconds. Oh, it's a dart. Pick it up, put it in, and then I'm off to the next thing, or I'm shooting at someone. Like, just that little thing that could be huge. So I'm very interested, very curious about it. But if you want to check that out, I will have a link to it and a pop-up somewhere around here at the end of the video. Before we get to that, though, I just need to say thank you so much to all the patrons. I'm sorry that we don't have the sliding text as we normally do, but leaving everything at home and not, having everything with me makes it a bit hard to do. So I'm sorry, but thank you for your understanding. I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much to all the patrons that came by the booth at FoamCon. It was an absolute blast and pleasure to be able to put faces to names and meet you and spend time talking with you. It meant so much to me to be able to do that. And honestly, anyone that stopped at the booth was fantastic to be able to talk to. It was really, really cool to be able to spend time with people at FoamCon and get to meet people and do all that. And honestly, thanks to the people on Patreon that are going and supporting the channel that can, it helps make trips like this possible. I was able to do this, in large part, thanks to all of you. So thank you so much. This is amazing. And I hope to be able to share all the fun that was had and everything with all of you in the future as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and pop up the video of the week over here. If you have any suggestions, as always, like I said, let me know. But thank you again to Grihas of Grihas Gear and Tabek of Velocity Blasters. Check their stuff out. I'll have links down below. And if you're new to the channel and enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that subscribe button for the future. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jangular, and I'll see you next time.